On today's episode of Locked On Avalanche, the NHL unveiled its quarter century team, and there are 4 Colorado Avalanche players on it. But the way they did it's a little bit weird. Let's talk about it on a new episode of Locked On Avalanche coming at you.
You're Locked On Avalanche, your daily podcast on the Colorado Avalanche, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Locked On Avalanche podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Chris Maselli. With me, as always, Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. Thank you for tuning in, making it your first listen of the day. That's always appreciated. And if you want to get in on the conversation, join our subtext. Link is in the show notes below. Chat with Kyle and I one-on-one. We get your opinion, everything Avalanche related, and share it on this very podcast. We will do that when we get to our next 2 players that we are either high or low on for next year. Today we are doing Jonathan Drouin and Ross Colton. So if you want to tune into yesterday's, if you haven't yet, yesterday we did Landeskog and Marty Nashis was yesterday's episode. So we'll dive into that in a little bit. But like I said on the top, where we're going to start today, the NHL did this quarter century team. And just to refresh everybody's memory of it, they did it all throughout the season. Every team, it wasn't just every team just threw out theirs at one time. Everybody had a date, or every team had a date when they were going to release theirs. And then there was 2 teams per team, a first team and a second team per team. And then they said this all along, they were going to do a full quarter century team. All the players that were listed in the quarter century teams for each team were going to get, I thought, thrown into a pool and somehow voted on and say, these are the 25 best players of the last 25 years. Not how it was done, apparently. But so let's just go back to the Avs players that were on team 1 and team 2. And the way they did it was 3 forwards, 2 defensemen, 1 goalie per team. So first team and a second team. So for the Avalanche, their first team was Forsberg, McKinnon, Sakic, Adam Foote, Cale Makar on defense. Patrick Waugh was your first team goalie. For your second team, Milan Hajduk, Landeskog, Mikko Rantanen. Ooh, that stings a little bit now. Your defenders were Rob Blake and Eric Johnson, and Semyon Varlamov was your goalie. Kyle and I picked ours. I don't want to rehash what we had, but that's what was unveiled for the Avs for their team 1 and team 2 quarter century. Now they have released their top. Well, no, not their. I guess I don't. How do I like announce this? Like it's the way they did it. Like I said, I thought it was just going to be we're picking the top 25 guys, and somehow incorporate goalies into that too, right? But the way they did it was you had. Hang on, I got the site up here. So you had 6 guys that were that debuted in league before the year 2000. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 7 guys between the years 2000 and 2010, 6 more after the year 2010, and then 6 goalies. So that's how they divided all of this up. And take all that into account, you have 4 Avalanche that made it. You had Joe Sakic was part of the debuted before 2000. You had Cale Makar and Nathan McKinnon debuted after 2010. And you had Patrick Waugh as one of the 6 goalies. So I said all of that just to throw it to you, all that word salad, just to throw it over to you and get your thoughts on it.
The NHL. You had one job and you made it the most confusing mess. Like,
I don't know if it's confusing. It's just odd. Like wasn't anticipating doing it that way, but it is a little bit confusing. I guess you are right in that aspect.
Yeah. It's like, this is our quarter century team, but here are also some players that debuted before the quarter century.
That's the weird one.
And I'm just like, okay. I agree with you. Just put them all in a pool. Like, this is your 2000 hard cutoff. Bam.
Yeah.
It's 2025. Everybody in there. Here's your team. But no, NHL can't do that. I don't understand. And again, looking back, the 4 Avalanche representatives, it's really hard to dispute the contributions of all four and what Nathan MacKinnon and Cale Makar, like there were 6 that debuted after 2010. And
Mm-hmm.
like Nathan MacKinnon, Cale Makar, that's 2 of 6. And then you have, of course, Draisaitl and McDavid, and you had Johnny Hockey and Austin Matthews. So so that's like your future. And for you're taking up a good chunk of the 6 with a generational player in Cale Makar and just the ever-present Nathan MacKinnon. So that's a great presence going into the future. Joe Sakic, cannot leave him off any list when it comes to the NHL. Patrick Waugh. I'm happy to see that. Hey, I'm glad we did not tattoo Mikko Rantanen on our Quarter Century Team back tattoo. That's like tattooing an X on your back, and boy, it stings. But yeah, I guess he's part of it, but did not make the Quarter Century Team. I like the list. I like the representatives, and I have no qualms.
It's weird, like you said, with the they should have just done this like the draft lottery. Just throw ping pong balls up, and a combination of ping pong balls that picks this guy, whatever. But yeah, the prior to 2001 is weird because how did you judge the goalies? You don't say how you did the goalies, because if you're taking are you doing them before 2000 or after 2000? I don't know, because the one thing I will go back on my team when we did this, I had Patrick Waugh on team 2.
Yeah.
Not for anything Patrick Waugh did in his career. Clearly the greatest goalie in the history of the sport. And you can have that debate, whatever. But it was because he only played 3 seasons into the 2000s. So I thought that would ding him a little bit. So clearly, he made their first team and he made the entire quarter century team. But I'm asking, what are you basing that on? Are you basing it on his entire career? Because yes, he's on every single list that you can make. But I don't know, because you do have a metric where you did pick players that debuted prior to 2000, but you don't specify that for the goalies. That's the confusing part for me when it comes to goalies, because you can make the argument that Wad, I know he won a title in that time. Like, that holds a lot of weight too. It's a fun argument to have. You can make the argument that he should be there. I won't say you're wrong and discredit you, because he's Patrick Waugh. He's just, otherworldly. But you got to add, are there other guys that played more in this century than Patrick Waugh that are deserving? I don't know. That's up for debate.
No, I completely agree with you, because we both had that framework in mind when we made our own list. Like Patrick Waugh, yes, legendary Mount Rushmore talent, all that beautiful bean footage. But yeah, well, if your cutoff is 2000, there's not a lot of Patrick Waugh story past 2000 other than the Stanley Cup. And that's basically it. So, I mean, the other goalies, you have Roberto Luongo, you have Flower, you have Brodeur, you have the King, Hendrik Lundqvist, you have Carey Price, and Martin Brodeur. So,
all legendary,
especially Luongo in that period. I think that's the no-brainer in that time period. But to see Patrick Waugh up there, yes, legendary player from 2000 on, I don't think so.
It's a tough one. It's a tough one. And the only other one I want to bring up that, maybe was a snub, FOPA. Should Peter Forsberg be on here? And if you're, because obviously he would be, in the debuted before 2000, although he played, 2010, 2011 was technically his life, played 2 games in, and 07, 08 only played 8 games. 06, 07 only played 17 games. So he really 06, 07 was kind of where he really got most of the meat of a season. So, but that's still 7 seasons into a new century. But he is going up against, it would be Joe Sakic, if we're doing the debuted before 2000. Joe Sakic, Teemu Selanne, and I think it's Iginla. Yeah, Jerome Iginla. So should he beat any of those three guys? Tough.
Yeah,
I would say.
Yeah, you got for the 6 that debuted before 2000, Sakic, Jumbo Joe.
That's defense. So,
yeah,
no, like
you got Big Z,
is
Aginla,
Chara
Timu.
defense. Yeah, I didn't not and Lindstrom was on there too. I think for defense. Yes.
So it's
They did.
when you're putting up, and again, the WA metric kind of go like, yes, Peter Forsberg, legendary. Post 2000, not so much.
Yeah, he was still good though.
He was,
I mean,
but you had
had
players like Kovalchuk during like post 2000 that had far superior numbers. That I was surprised did not make the quarter century during that time. There, I mean, you had some really good players.
Oh, sure.
Yes, like Forsberg, him not being on the list did not surprise me at all.
No, I'm not saying like it didn't. It didn't surprise me, but I guess I want to know like how much did he miss by? Would he have been the next one? I don't know.
Oh, yeah, Ilya Kovalchuk was during that time was phenomenal.
Yeah,
and he is forgotten to the pages of history, but he put up some incredible.
Because like I said, you got Aginla, great numbers. Sakic, Solani, and Thornton. It's tough. It's tough to really put him over those guys. So
yeah,
I'm all right with it. Overall, I think. I mean, and I believe that's the most 4 players. I don't think anybody had 4. So the Avs, they pump out talent. They have throughout their franchise going. So, yeah.
And skaters who debuted between 2000 and 2010, Sidney Crosby's on that list.
And I think that's the one that the Avs don't have anybody.
Yeah, but if you want to include possible future Avs,
he's on there. So you can put an asterisk where there could be eventually 5.
Yeah, that's
just.
But that's that list right there is robust within itself. Even though you have no Avalanche representatives, just an incredible portion of time that we kind of look over.
Yeah, it was fun. It's a fun list, and like you said, leave it up to the NHL to just raise so many questions when they're releasing the full quarter century team. But
here's our 25 players born after the year 2000.
All right, so let's get our first break in here. When we come back, we will discuss if we are high or low on our next 2 players for the Avs with Jonathan Drouin, or I should say, and Ross Colton. We'll do that next. Let's hear from wonderful Pistachios, because if you are looking for a snack that is both delicious and nutritious, crack into a good source of protein with wonderful pistachios. It's one of the highest protein nuts available. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller for longer. We talk about this all the time on what varieties that we like. Kyle is the shell man. That's correct?
Right. Absolute shell raiser over here.
And your flavor of choice would be
jalapeno lime.
Yes. So I go the no shell variety, and honey roasted is just my jam. Can't go wrong with a good honey roasted. So get snackin' and get crackin' with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com right now to learn more. All right, so we're continuing our high or low. If we're high or low on these guys for next season, might be a little bit early to do this. I don't know, but I don't think what is really going to change between now and opening night, where we're feeling different on how these guys ended this last season. So we dive in. We're doing 2 every day for this week. Middle of the road guys. I shouldn't say middle of the road because yesterday we did Landeskog and Nashis, but guys that maybe you have questions on. You don't have questions for Cale Makar. You don't have questions for Nathan MacKinnon, Jonathan Drouin, Ross Colton, maybe. So let's start with Drouin, sir. Are you high or low Jonathan Drouin, I should say, going into next season?
Well, in doing my research for how do I feel about these guys and what did they give me last year? And here's a little fun fact for all of the listeners and viewers out there. Besides Nathan MacKinnon and Cale Makar, there was not another point per game player on the Colorado Avalanche. The points fall off. You're going 116 for Nate. Cale Makar had 92. The unmentioned 96, the dog, as some would say, still tallied 64. And then you fall off a cliff. You have Arturi Lehkonen with 45.
Yeah.
Am I high on what Drouin can bring? Drouin brought in 37 points in 43 games.
That's the key. In 43 games.
That's both stink to me.
Oh, I don't know about that. I mean, I don't think 37 points in 43 games is bad at all. When he's not, he's not. He didn't really play on the top line all that much. He was moved around a lot. You had some injuries. Like, I don't think it's terrible, especially coming from, what he was coming over here. Like, I'll tell my side of it in a second, but
yeah,
go ahead.
I think yeah, that's good, but you need going into this year, you had such high expectations for what Jonathan Drouin, Nathan MacKinnon connection could be. Mm-hmm. And injuries got in the way, which, I mean, spoiler alert, that's been Drouin's problem his entire career. And the playoffs, they were atrocious for Drouin.
It wasn't good. Yeah,
it was not good. And that's regular season is one thing you judge, but you judge the playoffs times two. And what I saw in the playoffs did not give me any kind of solace or peace going into the future with Jonathan Drouin. Yes, he plays well with Nathan MacKinnon. Trust me, I've watched the games. I know the history. I see it all the time. Every time they have a goal and an assist together, they show all the clips of them playing together. I get it. But I don't know. I think we've peaked with the Drouin experience, and I don't know if it's going to get any better, because once it starts getting better, he gets hurt, and then he's part-time again. And that's just not beneficial for the roster.
So I've kind of flipped on Drouin. Like, I wasn't sold on him coming over here. I didn't know how it was going to work. Everybody loved the connection with him and Nathan MacKinnon, and people just thought that was going to fix it. He just playing with his buddy that he played with, years ago, and that just somehow fixes everything. Did it? Kind of. It kind of did. And you had, and I'm not saying like it fixed it to the point where he's, putting up Nathan MacKinnon numbers. I'm not saying that. It's just like he got to be a little, once he figured it out. So we were kind of comparing him to Val Nichushkin like a little bit. Like, once Nichushkin figured it out in Colorado, he got an 8-year contract out of it. Drouin, it's same thing. It took him a little bit while just to get his feet wet, and then he was good. I thought he was good enough for you were paying him next to nothing last year. This recent year, you bumped him up a little bit, and so I just did some quick math here. You had, so last year, 56 points in 79 games. That's 0.7 points per game. This year, he had 37 in 43. That is 0.86 points per game. So he's giving you more point production this past year, than he was the year before. And then he got hurt, and he only played half a season. And sure, bring in the playoffs. That's the most recent thing that happened. Did not go well. And that's what everybody is hanging their hat on right now, as we're just dragging him through the mud because of that. I get it. I say all that to say, like, am I high or low on him? I don't want to say I'm high on him and then thinking that he's just going to, find this other gear and just make every team regret not signing him type of player. But if I can bring in Jonathan Drouin for a low number and he can get you 0.8 points per game for a full season, don't get hurt. Sure, that's always a question mark. I'm doing it. And the thing with him, though, the one part where I say, I don't know, is he is a product of who he's playing with. So you put him on, like when he played with McKinnon on a top line when he had to in year one, he didn't do it so much in year two. He was more productive. And that's not breaking any mold here. You drop him down to a third line and he struggles a little bit more because he's not the one who's facilitating. He needs to be on a line with someone who can find him and he can finish. So that's the plus and the minus with him. If he's going to play on a top six role, which he's not going to now that Gabe Landeskog is back, Lehkonen is pretty much entrenched right up there. You got Nashis. He's either top line or second line. It's going to be tough to find top line minutes for Jonathan Drouin, and therefore will that production dip? That's the big question.
Yeah, that's exactly my feeling on it. And like when I say I'm low on him, when this first happened, this first connection between Nate and Drouin and getting the band back together, like you were anticipating like this, you were seeing flashes where Drouin could possibly be like a cheap Artturi Lehkonen, and you were excited on what that production could be. But now, like the more it goes, and with all the pieces falling into place, and the top six really secured, he's not really going to excel on the third line. And what you thought you were going to get a $1.5 million Artturi Lehkonen, you're really going to get another JT Compher. And I think that's a little bit more the production you're going to get, and that doesn't thrill me. And the thing that really speaks out to me, and really just I'm not a big fan of the part-time numbers. Like the injuries are a problem, and I'm just, it's been a problem his entire career, and I can't get fired up about seeing 40 more games next year of Jonathan Drouin.
It's a problem. Yeah, I mean, it is a problem. The year before, his first year with the Avs, played 79. So, but, that's, I think one other, let's see, he played 77 in 17-18. He played 81 in 18-19, 73 and 6. So he had a 3-year stretch where he was in the 70s or 80s. And then after that, it was a little bit struggle. I mean, he had COVID mixed in there, whatever. But is it not, injuries follow Colorado Avalanche players. So he fits the mold there. I don't know, man. Like it's a tough one. I would say I'm leaning towards, who said it yesterday, like the lower end of high with Drouin, because I think we all wanted him to have this miraculous, incredible turnaround when the Avs brought him in, because the story was great. It was a fun story with McKinnon, and everybody was just like, oh, he is like, we're going to show the rest of the league. We bring guys in and just rehabilitate them, and then they're amazing. And it's not gone that route, but has it been all just horrible? No, I don't think it's been horrible, but it hasn't been that just excelling part, like, number 3 overall pick or whatever it was. It hasn't been that. And maybe people are kind of like coming down on that mountain now from Drouin, where I'm just like, hey, if he can pitch in, like you mentioned, JT Compher, I'd take that. I would take JT Compher production from him any day.
But we were having episodes talking about, does Jonathan Drouin pricing himself out of Colorado? Right. I remember having that conversation, and that was the expectation and kind of what you were anticipating with that Nathan McKinnon connection, and it's not happening. And now he's going to be third line tops, and you're just not going to get that kind of production. So, like, I think I'm on the high end of low, just because he had the opportunity to do something, and it just did not happen.
I will and my end by saying that, like, it would be nice to have somebody like him when inevitable injuries pop up. If he's not one of them, you can move him up and be okay. And be okay. Probably better than he is on a third line. So, all right, let's get our last break in here. When we come back, we will get into Ross Colton. And then are there any Colorado Eagles out there that could maybe take the next step in next season for the Avs? They might need some, but is there any there? We'll talk about it next. All right, let's dive into Ross Colton and if we are high or low on him. Started off just awesome. Did Colton to the season. I think after the first was it the first couple weeks or first month, he was like either leading the league or second in the league in goals.
Yeah.
And then he got hurt. But he still managed to put together 61 games. And then got hurt again in the playoffs and then didn't play after. Did he get hurt in the first game? I can't remember now. It was either the first or second game. I think it was the first game he got hurt.
I think it was the second.
Was it? Either one. Whenever he got hurt, he missed the rest of it. So he's an interesting name, I think, getting brought up in Avalanche world. Could he be a guy? We were talking about the defense and Sammy G. He could be on the way out to free up some cap space. Same could be true for Ross Colton because he went from a full no move clause to now a modified one. So they could not trade him last year unless he agreed to it. But that changes this season to modified. I think it's a 12 team, 10 or 12 team that list that he has. So it could happen if they need to free up some space to sign someone like Brock Nelson or who knows. But let's just assume that he is on the Avs for opening night. What are you thinking for next year, high or low on Ross Colton?
Another player with so much promise that I'm honestly kind of low on. You said 61 games. How many points did he have in that regular?
He had 29. 16 of them were goals. More goals than assists. So 16 and 13.
29 points.
And he started hot.
Yeah, started wildly hot. I think 9 of those goals were in that first month.
It was a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. And it just went completely south. What perfect storm can you make? Like, what is Ross Colton trying to achieve? Because again, like we were talking about with Drouin, that top 6 is locked up. Like your roaring 20s line. Everybody remember that?
Yeah.
Roaring 20s line?
That was fun. Yeah.
Well, guess what? Miles Wood is scratched every other day. LOC is paving a completely different story arc for himself. What is Ross Colton? Who is he? What is he? What is he going to bring? I'm not feeling too high on Ross Colton coming into next year.
Yeah, this is a tough one. Like I keep going back and forth, and again, this is one where it's like whatever side I come out on, it's the lower end of high or the higher end of low, because he's streaky, and he's fun. You know, his goal celebrations are awesome.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to go high on a guy because of his goal celebrations. Like you need the production to be there. And yeah, it's crazy to see the 61 point, like, and you know, would it have been or looked or sounded or even talked about a little bit better if he could at least got to that like 30 point? I know he's 1 point off on that, but you know, the year prior he had 40 points in 80 games. That's what you want from, you know, a middle 6 guy to bottom 6 guy. Like that's really what you're looking for. If you can get 40 points, and it tailed off a little bit. And I don't really know why, because, well, I mean, when he came back from the injury, just didn't, I don't know if he was pressing too much or whatever the case may be, but I don't know. Like Ross Colton is one. I think I'm more low on him than high. But would it surprise me if he came out and had a really solid season? It wouldn't surprise me. But I want to see, because even if he starts this season hot, I would be like, we've been here before.
Yep.
So you got to continue it. I don't know, man. This is going to be it's going to be a big season for him if he lasts the full season with the Avs. Because if maybe they give him like another shot to just be more consistent and be that guy. You said, who is he? He could be a guy that moves up and down your lineup. He could be. Jared Bednar has put him in the top line many times. He could be that guy. Like we're talking about Jonathan Drouin being that guy, and you're fine with him if he's got to go on the top line and play with, like, you know, Nathan MacKinnon. You want Ross Colton to be that, and the money he's making, he should be that. You know, he's at a $4 million cap hit for a guy that's going to parked on your third line. You want him to be more than that.
And I think the narrative would be different on Ross Colton if he didn't front load those goals and the stats and those points. Like if this was an even distribution throughout the year, where he was, putting in the goals here and there throughout the year, it didn't go completely invisible and quiet. I think it'd be a different narrative, and I think you'd be positive and positive outlook into the next year. But it was the beginning month where everybody's scratching their head like, who's Ross Colton? Look at this year.
Well,
And that was it. Like unplugged, and the playoffs was just derailed. It was just bad. It was just not great. So can he rebound? Of course. He's a good player, but completely unplugged last year. And it's just he's got to refine what he's going to bring. And you brought up the point, like a third liner making $4 million, not really conducive to what the Avs are trying to build right now.
I mean, you said like who is this guy at the beginning of the season? I was like, this is what he could do.
Yeah,
he can do. I mean, maybe not
that's what they thought he would be on the Lightning. Like when we would talk when he came over, we talked to Adam Denker about it, and he said, yeah, this was going to be the guy they were going to start building around if a lot of the old guys weren't getting out, and that's what Tampa thought they were going to get with Ross Colton. And it's what Colorado thought they were going to get with Ross Colton. And then Ross Colton just came back down to earth.
Yeah. A couple subtext comments on it. Madam Battleaxe Colton. Hi, I'm sorry, but he's a great player and very easy on the eyes. Oh, Madam, she's going down that road. I hope he recovers from his injury and gets back soon. Drouin mid-low. He just seems quiet through the playoffs. Would have loved to see more. Okay. I'm all right with that. Shorzy, I am low-high on Colton. Medium confidence starting out on a team at the beginning of a new season. He can adapt to his role and become a dependable guy. Drouin, I have zero confidence in. Playing in a spot he plays, he needs to be either super high in the assist stat column or high in the goal column. He had one fluke year, almost scoring 20 goals in two seasons ago. He is past his peak and needs to be on the trade block. He goes on about, his injuries and all that stuff. But I really feel like how Drouin performed in the playoffs is just the lasting impression that people have right now. It is. And I can't fault him for that. So,
nope.
We got Vargar says he is low on Drouin. Wouldn't bring him back. Last two playoffs, he's been almost invisible. Nate's friend, but not much when it counts. Colton, I'm decently high on, should move up in the lineup and take some of Drouin's ice time. I think he could have made a difference in the Dallas series. It's a good point.
Very good point.
That is a good point. So, and then finally, we got one more here. This is Landon. Colton is high on. I love that dude so much. And Drouin, I hope he doesn't resign, but high end of low. I feel like I'm on the other end of this thing. Like I'm trying to look at big picture with Drouin and feel like, hey, for the season, you can put him in different spots. And you want to do that with Colton. So maybe both of these guys should be in the same world for me. And hey, we're on the low end of high, and show me what you got for this year.
If I had to pick between the two, I'm picking Colton.
Oh, that's a good question.
I'd pick Colton. Like the body of work that Drouin's given you, it's been nice, but Colton has been nicer. And he has a lot more promise. And a lot broader skill set, too.
I need to sleep on it. I'll let you know tomorrow.
You know where to find me.
Yeah, all right. And one last thing we just wanted to bring up quickly. I got this on like a mailbag question, and we didn't get to it. And you always get the question on like, well, what Colorado Eagles could be there for the Avs next year? Maybe make a push for a roster spot. And although they are still playing and they could have some roster changes too. So we know that full well when we're doing this. So we're just going off the guys that they have now. If you look at their roster, anybody that jumps out to you that could make some sort of splash in next year's roster opening night?
3 defensemen.
All defensemen. Okay. I'm sure I know one of them.
Jacob McDonald.
Yeah, well, there's 2 of them then. Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't get a shot. But anyway, go ahead.
J-Mac, Callie Rosen, John Ludwig.
And who?
John Ludwig.
Oh, Ludwig. I thought you said Jean-Luc Foudy. I'm like, he's not defenseman.
No.
See, like I think Jacob McDonald had a fantastic year.
He's having
Eagles.
a great playoff,
record-setting year with the Eagles. I thought he was gonna see some time. Didn't happen. I could see him maybe at least. And here's the thing: I'll preface it by saying this: I don't feel like the Eagles have anybody. There's no more prospects there that are there right now that are going to make a run for huge minutes, and big time numbers. It's not there. But you could get guys that, you put them in a depth role and they have an impact. Could McDonald be that? I don't know. Like he's been given opportunities in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Could be just when it translates to the NHL level, it's just too much for him and he's comfortable at the AHL level. Could be that, but maybe he gets a look next year. We given up on Sean Barons here. I don't know. Like
who?
Well, I mean, he's a second round pick. Like I think more was expected out of him and he hasn't really been given much of an opportunity. So still a young guy. So I don't know. Maybe him.
Like
Ludwig, I don't know. I don't really expect much from him. And Rosen, I'm not sold on Callie Rosen. I don't know.
Well, I like what they're doing right now. And when it comes to like bumping up, you don't, like you said, you don't have a prospect that's going to be jumping these guys, and you have NHL experience with these three. I feel like they could make camp interesting, especially with what you're looking at with defense and what you want to do with the money. We've talked about Manson and Girard. Could these be cheaper alternatives to get you through, test it out to at least the deadline? We know that's a CMAC. It's a CMAC move. Yeah. I mean, get grief. They traded Mikko Rantanen to save some money. Nothing's off the table.
No,
so
that is a risk. I mean, we've done that before with the 2C, and that didn't go so well with Alex Newhook.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, you mentioned all defensive guys. The only guys on defense were for me Barons and McDonald. On the forwards, why not Ivan? I thought he did pretty well when he was up with them. And then once he went down, it never came back up. So, hey, I think he could make a little push. And that could be if you're moving out a guy like Colton and to save money, he's your replacement because that's going to be a lot less money. Just throwing that out there. So him, Jason Poland, maybe depth stuff. And Taylor McCarr. Taylor. He's a big dude, man. He's 6'4" and 210.
I say another year with Taylor.
It could be. It very well could be. But he could be somebody just to watch in the preseason and in camp, because I feel like he could be a guy where he has a really good training camp and really good preseason, and it forces them to. They're still going to send him down, but now their eye is on him. You're like, you prove something to us, kid. And maybe he's the first guy that gets called up or something. But I think that he's put in a lot of work. So he could be a guy to kind of eye as well. But like we're saying, like all of these guys are depth guys.
Yeah.
And that's where that's the disappointing thing for the Avalanche is that's where they're at right now with their prospects. Sure. You have, who's the goalie over the Prosvetov coming over.
Nabokov.
I know. I just threw out Prosvetov. That was the first one that came to mind. But that's years away still.
Yeah.
So this is where we are.
You don't have a Cale Makar. You don't have an Alex Newhook. You don't have your big guy, your Ben Myers coming through the door.
That just gives you hope, and Myers didn't work out. Sampo Ranta didn't work out, but all guys that you could that could come up, be like, hey, it could happen for him. Yeah. We got to see it, but it's gone. Like the Jean-Luc Foudy part, like, okay, he's not the guy. So it's sad in a sense, but this is the bed that the Avalanche had made for themselves. So are there guys in the Eagles that could jump up and make a little bit of a push? Sure. But none of them are really like, hey, they're we can insert this guy and he's gonna be there for for the entire regular season.
Yeah. No.
Kind of sad.
Not yet.
Kind of sad. Not yet. So
they're still pushing in the playoffs. They're going farther than the big squad. So let them go.
That's awesome. So, all right. That is going to wrap it up for today, everybody. And New York Knicks are up on the series 3-1 now, by the way. Just saying, just to throw that out there for no reason whatsoever.
Anything is possible.
That's going to wrap it up for today, everybody. So thank you for tuning in, making this your first listen of the day. That is always appreciated. He is Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. I am Chris Maselli. This is the Locked On Avalanche podcast. We'll see you tomorrow, where you made it through another 24 hours where Sidney Crosby's that much closer to being with the Colorado Avalanche.